The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Chen Wei stepped forward, her boots echoing against the crystalline floor of the Galactic Council's Judgment Hall. Above her, representatives from 47 different species watched from their elevated platforms, their alien eyes reflecting the cold light of distant stars visible through the massive transparent dome overhead. The human delegation will hear the verdict, announced Prelate ZYXTH, his serpentine form coiled around the central podium. His voice carried the weight of millennia, translated through neural implants that made every word feel like ice in Chen's mind. Chen straightened her shoulders, refusing to show the fear that gnawed at her stomach. Behind her stood the last representatives of Earth's colonies, Captain Rodriguez from the Mars settlements, Dr. Okafor from the Europa research stations, and Commander Singh from the asteroid mining operations. They were all that remained of humanity's voice in galactic affairs. By unanimous decision of the Galactic Council, ZYXTH continued, his golden eyes never blinking, humanity is hereby stripped of all rights and privileges within Council space. Your species is found guilty of aggressive expansion, violation of the Non-Interference Directive, and possession of forbidden weapons technology. The words hit like physical blows. Chen had expected this outcome, but hearing it spoken aloud made her chest tighten. Around the chamber, alien faces showed various expressions of satisfaction, disgust, or cold indifference. Not one showed sympathy. Furthermore, the prelate's voice grew colder. All human settlements within Council space must be evacuated within one standard cycle. Any human vessels found in Council territory after this period will be destroyed without warning. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, his weathered face flushed with anger. This is madness. We've done nothing but defend ourselves against Kethvar raids on our outer colonies. Every action we've taken has been in response to attacks on our people. A chittering laugh echoed from the insectoid platform where Ambassador KLKTH perched on spindly legs. Defense? You call the obliteration of 3 Kethvar dreadnoughts and their crews defense? Your species possesses weapons that can tear through our most advanced shielding like tissue paper. Because we had to develop them to survive. Dr. Okafor's voice cracked with emotion. You've all been content to watch as our colonies were burned, our people enslaved or killed. When we finally fought back effectively, suddenly we're the threat. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, some supporting the judgment, others arguing about the severity. Through it all, Prelate ZYXTH remained motionless, watching the humans with those unblinking golden eyes. Chen raised her hand, and gradually, the noise subsided. If this is the Council's final decision, then we accept it. But know this, humanity will remember who stood by and watched as we were driven into the dark. Your threats mean nothing, human, sneered Ambassador Veltar from the hegemony platform. His crystalline form pulsed with angry red light. Where will you go? The galactic rim is filled with nothing but dead systems and cosmic storms. You'll be extinct within a generation. A cold smile crossed Chen's lips. Perhaps. But if humanity is to die, we'll die free. The next few hours passed in a blur of legal proceedings and formal declarations. The humans were escorted from the chamber under heavy guard, their diplomatic immunity revoked the moment the judgment was pronounced. Their ship, the UES Horizon's Edge, waited in the station's docking bay under the watchful guns of Council security vessels. As they boarded their ship, Chen looked back one last time at the massive Council station. It was a marvel of engineering, a city-sized structure that housed millions of beings from across the galaxy. For 2 centuries, humanity had dreamed of being accepted as equals here. Now, that dream was ashes. Where to, Ambassador? Asked Captain Rodriguez as they reached the bridge. The stars beyond the viewscreen seemed colder somehow, more distant. Chen settled into her chair and activated the quantum communicator. First, we need to warn our people. Every human settlement, every colony, every research station. They need to know what's coming. The next 72 hours were chaos. Across human space, the evacuation orders went out. Some colonies had months of travel time to reach the edge of Council space. Others had mere weeks. The furthest settlements would need to abandon everything they'd built and run for the galactic rim with whatever ships they could commandeer. On Mars, Governor Harrison stood in the observation dome of New Shanghai, watching as the last transport ships lifted off from the red planet's surface. 3 million people called Mars home, and somehow, they'd managed to evacuate 90% of them. The remaining few hundred were volunteers who refused to leave, determined to maintain some human presence in the Sol system even if it meant death. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Council fleet," reported his aide, Lieutenant Park. Her voice was steady, but Chen could see the fear in her eyes. Harrison nodded grimly. "Put it through." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the angular features of Admiral Ket H., the Protoss commander of the Council Enforcement Fleet. "Governor Harrison. You have 6 hours to complete your evacuation. After that, this system will be sterilized." "Understood, Admiral. We'll be gone within the hour. See that you are. The Council has no wish to add genocide to humanity's crimes, but we will enforce our judgment." The transmission ended, leaving Harrison staring at the empty space where the alien's image had been. Around him, the last skeleton crew of Mars Colony Control worked frantically to download critical data and load the final supply pods. Meanwhile, in the deep void between stars, something extraordinary was happening. Admiral Sarah Chen, the ambassador's sister and commander of humanity's deep space fleet, had been preparing for this day for months. Intelligence reports had suggested the Council's intentions long before the official judgment came down. Hidden in the Oort cloud of a dead system 30 light-years from Council space, the largest refugee fleet in human history was taking shape. Massive arc ships, each capable of housing 50,000 people, hung in space alongside military vessels that represented humanity's most advanced technology. Ships the Council had never seen, weapons they couldn't imagine. "Admiral, we're receiving the final evacuation groups from the inner colonies," reported Captain Torres from the bridge of the UES Defiance, Admiral Chen's flagship. "Total population count is approaching 400 million. Admiral Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the positions of nearly 3,000 ships. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, and it was about to embark on the greatest journey in their species' history. "Any word from the exploration vessels?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. Captain Morrison's squadron has identified 47 potentially habitable systems along the galactic rim. Most are outside the Council's current sensor net, and several show signs of ancient ruins that might contain useful technology." "Ancient ruins?" "Yes, Admiral. Structures that appear to predate the Council by at least 50,000 years. The initial scans suggest a highly advanced civilization that simply vanished." Admiral Chen felt a chill run down her spine. The galaxy was old, and humanity was young by comparison. But if there were civilizations that had existed long before the Council, perhaps humanity's exile wasn't the death sentence their enemies believed it would be. "Begin the final preparations for departure. And send a message to all ship commanders, we're not just evacuating. We're beginning the next chapter of human history." As the refugee fleet prepared to leave for the galactic rim, the last human installations in Council space went dark. Earth's orbital stations were abandoned, their automated systems broadcasting a simple message on all frequencies: "This system belongs to humanity. We will return." The Council ships that moved in to secure former human territory found empty worlds and silent stations. But they also found something else, signs that humanity had been preparing for exile long before the official judgment. Missing ships, empty weapons storage facilities, and research data that had been systematically purged. Ambassador Chen, aboard the Horizon's Edge as it raced toward the rendezvous point with the refugee fleet, smiled grimly as she read the reports. Her people were safe, for now. But more importantly, they were free. "The Council thinks they've solved their human problem," she said to Captain Rodriguez as they entered hyperspace. "They have no idea what they've unleashed." In the depths of space, humanity's greatest exodus was beginning. 400 million refugees fleeing toward the edge of known space, carrying with them the dreams and determination of their entire species. They were leaving behind everything they'd built, but they were taking something more valuable: hope. The void awaited, vast and dark and full of possibilities. And for the first time in centuries, humanity would face it alone, free from the constraints and prejudices of the Galactic Council. They would either find a new home among the stars, or die trying. But they would die free. Behind them, Council space continued its ancient routines, its representatives congratulating themselves on solving the human problem with minimal bloodshed. They had no way of knowing that in exiling humanity, they had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. The void was about to belong to someone new. And humanity was nothing if not adaptable. The real story was just beginning. 25 years had passed since the Great Exile, and the galaxy had changed in ways the Council could never have imagined. What had begun as humanity's desperate flight to the rim had become something far more significant: the birth of an entirely new civilization. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the UES New Horizon, watching as the massive structure of Bastion Prime rotated slowly against the star field. The space station was humanity's greatest achievement since leaving Council space, a mobile city housing 3 million people, bristling with technologies that would have been considered impossible a generation ago. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from the Pathfinder fleet," announced Lieutenant Commander Zhang from the communications station. His uniform bore the insignia of the Void Navy, humanity's new military force that had evolved far beyond anything the Council had ever seen. "Put it through," Elena responded, her attention shifting to the holographic display that materialized before her. The image showed Captain James Morrison, now an admiral, his weathered face bearing the scars of 25 years exploring the galaxy's most dangerous regions. "Elena, you need to see this," Morrison said without preamble. "We found something in the Kepler expanse that changes everything." Elena raised an eyebrow. Morrison wasn't given to dramatics. If he said something was significant, it usually was. "What kind of something, James?" "A derelict dreadnought. But not just any derelict, this thing is the size of a small moon and the technology inside." Morrison paused, shaking his head. "It's beyond anything we've ever seen. Beyond anything the Council has ever seen. Ancient civilization. That's the thing, the power cores are still active. Whoever built this ship, they didn't just vanish. They're still out there, somewhere beyond the galactic rim." Elena felt her pulse quicken. For 25 years, humanity had been building a new civilization in the void, using salvaged alien technology and their own innovations to create something unprecedented. They'd established 17 major colonies, built a fleet that rivaled anything in Council space, and discovered dozens of ancient ruins that suggested the galaxy had once been home to civilizations far more advanced than current species. "How long until we can examine it properly?" she asked. "That's where it gets interesting. The ship's AI is still functional, and it's been trying to communicate with us. Elena, it's been waiting here for over 50,000 years, and according to its logs, it's been waiting for us specifically." "For us? How is that possible?" Morrison's image flickered slightly as the quantum transmission struggled across the vast distances of space. "The AI calls itself the Keeper, and it claims to have been monitoring galactic development for millennia. When humanity was exiled, it activated and began broadcasting a signal that only our technology could detect. It says it has a message for us from its creators." Elena's mind raced with possibilities. Over the past quarter century, humanity had discovered that the galaxy was far more complex than the Council believed. Ancient ruins dotted the rim systems, filled with technology that suggested multiple advanced civilizations had risen and fallen over millions of years. Some of these civilizations had left behind artifacts that humanity had been able to reverse engineer, leading to breakthroughs in faster-than-light travel, energy generation, and defensive systems. "Admiral Morrison, you're ordered to establish a research station around that derelict immediately. I want our best xenoarchaeologists and AI specialists on site within the week. And James, maintain total communications blackout with Council space." If this is what I think it is, we need to understand it before anyone else knows it exists. Understood, ma'am. Morrison out. As the transmission ended, Elena turned her attention back to the view of Bastion Prime. The massive station was just one of hundreds of human installations scattered throughout the void, connected by a network of quantum relays that allowed near-instantaneous communication across thousands of light-years. What the Council had intended as humanity's death sentence had instead become the foundation of something remarkable. The exile had forced humanity to adapt in ways they never could have imagined. Cut off from the established trade routes and resources of Council space, human engineers had been forced to become incredibly efficient at resource utilization. They'd learned to build ships that could operate for decades without maintenance, develop closed-loop ecosystems that could sustain colonies on airless rocks, and create weapon systems that could defend against anything the galaxy might throw at them. More importantly, they'd learned to work together in ways that had been impossible when they were scattered across Council space. The Great Exile had united humanity with a single purpose: survival and growth in the void. They'd abandoned the old national and corporate divisions that had weakened them in Council space, creating instead a meritocratic civilization based on contribution and innovation. "Ma'am, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth," announced Lieutenant Commander Zhang. Elena frowned. Earth had been officially abandoned when humanity was exiled, but a small group of volunteers had remained behind to maintain the Sol system and monitor Council activity. They rarely broke communications silence unless something significant was happening. "Put it through, encrypted channel." The hologram that appeared showed Director Marcus Webb, the grizzled commander of Earth's hidden monitoring station. His underground facility had been built in the Antarctic, deep beneath the ice where Council sensors couldn't detect it. For 25 years, Webb and his team had watched and waited, gathering intelligence on Council activities. "Elena, we have a problem. The Council is mobilizing a massive fleet, and our sources suggest they're planning something called Operation Terminus. From what we can gather, they've finally realized that humanity didn't simply die out in the void." "What do you mean?" "They've detected our quantum relay network. Not the locations, but the energy signatures. They know we're still out there, and they know we've built something significant. The fleet they're assembling isn't just large, it's the largest military force in galactic history. Every member species is contributing ships." Elena felt cold dread settle in her stomach. "How large?" 15,000 vessels, including 600 dreadnoughts. "Elena, this isn't just an expedition to check on humanity's fate. This is an extermination fleet." The implications hit her immediately. For 25 years, the Council had believed humanity was slowly dying out in the void, struggling to survive on barren worlds at the galaxy's edge. If they'd discovered evidence of human expansion and technological advancement, they would see it as a threat that needed to be eliminated completely. "How long do we have?" Based on their assembly schedule and the distances involved, maybe 6 months before they reach the outer rim. "But Elena, there's something else. Our sources indicate they've been developing new weapons specifically designed to counter human technology. Someone's been feeding them information about our capabilities." Elena's blood ran cold. "A spy?" "It's the only explanation. The weapon systems they're developing are specifically designed to counter our shield harmonics and disruptor technology. Someone with access to our classified research has been passing information to the Council." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the bridge. Elena looked up to see the massive bulk of the UES Determination dropping out of hyperspace nearby, its hull scarred from recent combat. The ship was Admiral Chen's flagship, and its unexpected arrival could only mean one thing. "Director Webb, maintain your surveillance and report any changes immediately." Elena out. She rushed to the bridge as the Determination requested immediate docking clearance. Within minutes, Admiral Sarah Chen herself was striding onto the New Horizons command deck, her face grim with urgency. "Elena, we've got big problems," Chen announced without preamble. "The Council has launched scouting expeditions into rim space, and 3 of them have made contact with our outer colonies." "Casualties?" "Minor, but that's not the point. They've seen our technology, our defensive capabilities, our population levels. And Elena, they retreated immediately without engaging in serious combat. That's not normal council behavior. Elena nodded grimly. They're gathering intelligence for a major operation. We just received confirmation from Earth, the council is assembling an extermination fleet. Admiral Chen's expression darkened. Then we're out of time. Elena, I need you to authorize Operation Renaissance immediately. Elena hesitated. Operation Renaissance was humanity's ultimate contingency plan, developed in secret over the past decade as their civilization grew beyond what anyone had thought possible in the void. It was ambitious beyond measure, dangerous beyond calculation, and if it failed, it would mean the end of humanity. Sarah, are you certain? If we implement Renaissance and it fails. If we don't implement it, we'll all be dead within a year. Elena, the Council isn't just planning to destroy our colonies. They're planning to sterilize every system we've ever visited. They want to erase humanity from the galaxy completely. Elena was quiet for a long moment, considering the weight of the decision. Operation Renaissance would reveal humanity's greatest secret, the true extent of their expansion and technological development over the past 25 years. It would also initiate a conflict that would reshape the entire galaxy. Very well. Authorization Code Phoenix 7 Alpha. Operation Renaissance is now active. Admiral Chen nodded and activated her portable communicator. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Chen. Operation Renaissance is now active. Begin Phase 1 immediately. Across the void, humanity's hidden civilization began to reveal itself. Space stations that had been running in stealth mode suddenly came online, their massive forms materializing as they dropped their cloaking systems. Fleets that had been hiding in nebulae and asteroid fields emerged into normal space, their hulls gleaming with exotic alloys and energy fields that no council species had ever seen. The true scope of humanity's expansion became visible for the first time. They hadn't just survived in the void, they'd thrived. 17 major colonies had grown into 17 major star systems, each supporting millions of people and defended by weapons platforms that rivaled anything in council space. The refugee fleet of 3,000 ships had become a navy of over 50,000 vessels, including dreadnoughts that dwarfed the largest council ships. But the most remarkable revelation was yet to come. Deep in the Kepler expanse, Admiral Morrison's team had successfully interfaced with the ancient AI called the Keeper. What they'd learned changed everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. The Keeper has been waiting for a species capable of carrying on the legacy of its creators, Morrison reported in his latest transmission. According to its records, the galaxy has undergone 6 major extinction cycles, each one wiping out the dominant civilizations and forcing evolution to begin again. The council species are the survivors of the most recent cycle, about 60,000 years ago. And the Keeper's creators? Elena asked. They escaped the cycle by fleeing beyond the galactic rim, but they left behind guardians like the Keeper to watch for species that might be capable of breaking the cycle permanently. Elena, humanity isn't just another galactic civilization, according to the Keeper, we're the first species in millions of years with the potential to transcend the cycle completely. The implications were staggering. If the Keeper was correct, then humanity's exile hadn't been a punishment, it had been a test. The Council, by forcing humanity into the void, had unknowingly set in motion events that could reshape the galaxy's future. The Keeper is offering us access to its creator's technology, Morrison continued. Weapons and defensive systems that make our current capabilities look primitive. But Elena, it comes with a price. We'd be taking on the responsibility of preventing the next extinction cycle. Elena stared out at the stars, contemplating the magnitude of what Morrison was describing. Humanity had been exiled for being too aggressive, too dangerous. Now they were being offered the power to protect the entire galaxy from threats the current council couldn't even imagine. Admiral Morrison, you're authorized to accept the Keeper's offer. Begin integration of their technology immediately. Elena, there's one more thing. The Keeper's sensors have detected massive gravitational anomalies beyond the galactic rim. Something is coming, something that makes the Council's extermination fleet look like a minor threat. According to the Keeper, we have maybe 50 years before the next extinction cycle begins. Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Humanity had 25 years to prepare for the Council's attack and 50 years to prepare for something far worse. It seemed impossible, but then, humanity had been doing impossible things since the day they were exiled. Then we'd better get to work, she said quietly. The void belongs to us now, and we're not giving it up without a fight. As Operation Renaissance continued to unfold across human space, ancient technologies came online and hidden fleets revealed themselves. The galaxy began to sense that something fundamental had changed. The species that had been exiled as too dangerous to live among civilized races had spent 25 years becoming something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Council had exiled humanity to save the galaxy from their aggression. Instead, they had forged the galaxy's only hope of survival. The void had indeed become humanity's domain, but they would not keep it to themselves. When the time came, they would use it to save everyone, even those who had cast them out. The real test was just beginning.